Hello, friends, and a very warm welcome to all of you. And continuing with the series of picking up important themes in economics, but not just limiting it to economics. We will be taking up again few more important topics, and starting with the fact or the theme that what are the threats to the 1 trillion artificial intelligence boom? So, first question arises, Mansi, why we can say that there is artificial intelligence boom?
So, because of again sudden adoption in the artificial intelligence technology, and we can also say जो big tech companies है, like it is becoming Google versus Microsoft. So उसकी वजह
Hmm.
से ज्यादा highlight
You
हुई.
mean to say the sudden high volume and high value investment, and everybody, whoever is having cutting edge information, cutting edge skills, they are looking forward to investment and potential in this. That is why it is saying artificial intelligence boom. So 1 trillion artificial intelligence boom. So the question arises, is there a risk of over investing or is there a risk of under investing? For
जी.
India, we believe that India must invest more and more, then only it will be able to compete and get edge. Otherwise, in the fourth industrial revolution, also India will merely be a recipient in some way, it will not be a leader. So, Google, like Sundar Pichai, they are talking about that Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft together, they are splurging more than US 104 billion on building AI data centers. 104 billion US dollars. Most countries even can't afford that. So the scale of investment and the uncertainty, will it be paying? That is the whole question. And how the world's two biggest cloud companies, including Microsoft and also you can say Amazon, they are uh, going to do their AI business. One company, the maker of chips, that is NVIDIA, it is the world's most valuable company, a very important fact which you can always use. But AI supply chain is far more sprawling. That is why there is a role for India also. The question arises, like the hundreds of firms in Taiwan or even in Swiss engineering outfits to American power utilities, where is the role for India? हम कहाँ हैं? Mansi.
So in this case, we are focusing more upon again our indigenous models. For example, we recently have seen कि ओला का कृत्रिम मॉडल है. सो इंडिया इज फोकसिंग अपॉन कि हम अपने सेल्फ सफिशिएंसी मॉडल में कैसे एआई को इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं. वी आर आल्सो फोकसिंग अपॉन एट द सेम टाइम सेमीकंडक्टर चिप्स मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, या फिर व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द डेटा सिक्योरिटी एस्पेक्ट. तो हम इनोवेशन पे अभी आई डोंट थिंक सो उतना लार्ज स्केल पे फोकस कर पा रहे हैं. तो फर्स्टली लाइक
So
जो
what
नेशनल इंटरेस्ट एंड
we have to catch up with, we have to catch up and we have to show to the world also. And on the other hand, we are having our own indigenous startups and own investment also. What government of India is doing in this regard? Because one point is of chips and another is of networking to cooling systems. They are huge, gigantic investment energy is required. The chip makers, India is becoming an industry for the same. India is part of the supply chain. But can India continue to be at forefront, design own chips, selling networking equipments, like the way we talk about Dell or Hewlett Packard Enterprise, because their earnings are coming from now AI servers. Apple's iPhone business, it is also linked with it. So other companies are also finding that it is important to have investment in that. So what Mahindra can do, what Infosys can do, what Tata can do, what Reliance can do, what other companies can do, which are at the forefront, which are having huge money leverage with them. We had recently a Vietnamese company starting up manufacturing setup here in India. So the question arises that acquisitions or even moving on, or like the role of AMD or Coolterra, this is all coming up. India have great knowledge center also. That is also one of the points we can do so. But the threat is from supply bottlenecks. The threat is in terms of investment. The threat is in terms of demand of electricity, how much. The threat is in terms of two changing. For example, from Google search, you are moving means the gap has to be filled. Grid power is very important. How you will get it, and climate change, and most importantly, what if the demand do not grow? Current AI tools are not smart enough, or you can say they are not going to replace the existing system in much comprehensive manner. So the price tags will become less. So in this regard, how do you see, Mansi, that in next 20 years, where will be India's setup?
So, given India's current investments and focus upon again these specific areas in terms of specialization and investments, so India would be one of the critical players in artificial intelligence or be it semiconductor chips manufacturing. So we have the vision of being one of the global and important regional players in this and being an integral part of the global supply chain.
दिव्या, आपको कुछ कहना है? We can move to the next one.
जी सर.
चाइना का नया इकोनॉमिक विजन, जिसमें रिफॉर्म्स तो होंगे, बट देयर विल बी रोल ऑफ मार्केट आल्सो. एलॉबरेट, मानसी.
So right now when we are seeing कि China क्या struggle कर रहा है is over capacity. तो over capacity को again जब हम manufacturing related decisions की बात करते हैं China की, तो उसमें I think एक part of reform वो हो सकता है. And then China is struggling to again recover out of the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. So that is another challenge. उस पे और focus हो सकता है. How it would be again attracting more of FDI या जो भी current FDI है उसको भी maintain करना, because China plus one strategy की भी बात की जा रही है. या जब हम capital outflows China से देख रहे for the very first time इतने बड़े amount में, जो FPI investors हैं they are moving out of China's capital market.
चाइना का जो सप्लाई साइड फोकस है
जी.
वो तो ठीक है, पूरे वर्ल्ड के लिए है, पर क्या इनफ डिमांड भी है वहां?
नहीं है सर, वही ओवर कैपेसिटी इज द चैलेंज देयर.
Overcapacity is a challenge, yes. It is relatively close to the outsiders. It is opaque. It is suspicious. New productive forces जो हैं वो आ रही हैं, लेकिन they are not with a clear, confident and a humanistic mindset. क्योंकि चाइना at any cost want to break America's strangled hold on the key technological inputs. जैसे अभी हमने चर्चा की, चाहे फिर वो इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स हो, चाहे फिर वो हाई सेमीकंडक्टर्स हो, सब जगह चाइना वांट्स टू गेट even. It wants to be the number one. In this light, हम अगर ये कहें कि इंडिया का क्या रोल होना चाहिए?
तो इंडिया का रोल, फर्स्टली वी कैन लर्न फ्रॉम चाइना's trajectory and not repeating those mistakes. That can be one of the advantages. Second would
Right.
again being one of the most desirable destinations for FDI and FPI because of again China plus one strategy. And here India can also help in ensuring the gap which is there, because even Western world is looking for the ethical aspect, also a national security aspect के perspective से, like they are completely banning the imports of electric vehicles from China. So even in semiconductor chips में जब हम बात करते हैं कि security वाला aspect जो है, तो India can be a trusted player. So that can be one of the area where we can expand further.
And definitely, like the way India is diverse, China is also diverse. चाइना का जो इकोनॉमिक एक्सेप्शनलिज्म है वो उसकी पॉपुलेशन और उसके डोमिनेंस में है. तो पॉपुलेशन हमारे यहाँ भी हाई है, हम तो और भी ज्यादा रेजिलिएंट हैं. हमारे यहाँ ट्रू डेमोक्रेसी है, नॉट द चाइनीज काइंड ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी.
जी.
So that is why market forces plus Indian democracy can be a definitely good combination. And we are not a hegemonic power, we are a peaceful rising power.
Right, sir.
तो ये आप कुछ कहना चाहते हो?
सर
इंडिया के इसमें देखते हैं मल्टीपोलर वर्ल्ड की बात करता है, तो वेस्टर्न के साथ साथ ग्लोबल साउथ को डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज को लेकर चलने के।
ओके, बात सही है, गुड पॉइंट, वी कैन मूव फर्दर।
जी सर।
ये भी चाइना के साथ है कि चाइना का जो लास्ट बूम टाउन्स है वो रैपिड ग्रोथ अभी भी दिखा रहा है कि भाई पॉसिबल है। स्टेट जो है मार्केट के साथ वर्क कर रहा है। सी द पिक्चर, ये पोस्ट कार्ड पिक्चर लगता है देखने में, इट इज अ ट्रू पिक्चर फ्रॉम चाइना। द काइंड ऑफ ग्रोथ, द काइंड ऑफ प्लानिंग, द काइंड ऑफ इमर्जेंस, इंडिया में भी ऐसा है लेकिन ऐसा इतना ज्यादा बड़े स्केल पे नहीं है। सो इसीलिए हम चाइना की इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ को मिरेकल कहते हैं। डजन्स ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल एंट्री पॉट्स, चाहे फिर वो फर्नीचर हो, चाहे वो टॉयज हो, चाहे फिर वो यू नो व्हाट वी कैन से माइंस हो, चाहे फिर वो रेयर अर्थ मेटल्स हो। तो कमर्शियल हब्स जो हैं चाइना में, दे आर मोर देन वन। वो मशीनरी भी, टेक्सटाइल भी, कार्गो भी, स्टील भी, सब कुछ मिंट कर रहे हैं और इसीलिए हम मिलियनर्स आ रहे हैं। बट इट इज पॉसिबल एंड इट इज ट्रू, इट इज स्लोइंग डाउन, इज गोइंग ऑन देयर। जीडीपी की ग्रोथ कम हो रही है कंट्री लेवल, यानी कि जो कंट्री लेवल की अगर हम बात करें चाइना की तो हमें ग्रोथ दिखती है। लेकिन अगर आप स्टेट लेवल जिसे हम कहते हैं या और भी छोटे लेवल पे टीयर 2 टीयर 3 सिटी जैसे इंडिया में वैसे बात करेंगे तो हम देखते हैं कि वहाँ ग्रोथ अभी बाकी बची है, वहां पर अभी अभी भी बचा हुआ है। सो द क्वेश्चन इज ऑफ हाई क्वालिटी डेवलपमेंट, दैट इज व्हाट चाइना इज फोकसिंग। हमें भी स्मार्ट सिटी मिशन के थ्रू ऐसे ही सोचना चाहिए। हमें अर्बनाइजेशन और प्राइवेट सेक्टर का सपोर्ट लेके आगे चलना चाहिए। हमें जैसे जमशेदपुर है, जैसे महिंद्रा सिटी होगी, चाहे फिर वो तमिलनाडु में कोई मतलब वेल्लोर हो गया, जैसे एजुकेशनल हब है जैसे हमारे यहाँ सोनीपत बीइंग क्रिएटेड एज एजुकेशन सिटी एंड हब। और उसके बाद अंबाला से आगे है नारायणगढ़ है, फॉर दैट मैटर पंचकुला के साथ ट्राई सिटी है। तो पॉइंट है हमें भी अपने तरीके से, लेकिन और प्लानिंग के साथ और थोड़ा सा रूल ऑफ लॉ के साथ, थोड़ा सा और स्ट्रिक्टनेस के साथ हमें करना पड़ेगा। थाउजेंड्स ऑफ टाइनी डेवलपमेंट्स वो होंगे और वो हमें मदद करेंगे एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप से आगे आने में भी। लेकिन उसमें क्लाइमेट चेंज की वजह से फ्लैश फ्लड्स, क्लाइमेट चेंज की वजह से लैक ऑफ ड्रिंकिंग वाटर सप्लाई इन बेंगलुरु, क्लाइमेट चेंज और कंक्रीटाइजेशन की वजह से पुणे के अंदर सिटीज का आना, लेकिन साथ में नेचुरल जो हैबिटेट है उसका डिस्ट्रॉय होना, ये हमारे लिए लॉन्ग टर्म में बहुत नुकसान। लोकल फैक्ट्रीज को न्यू लेबर लॉस के साथ प्रमोट करना, फीमेल जो लेबर है और फीमेल वेजेस हैं उसको भी प्रमोट करना, ये हमारे लिए बहुत जरूरी है। तो द क्वेश्चन इज दैट बट इंडिया इज अ डाइवर्स कंट्री। इंडिया में रिलीजन भी है, इंडिया में सुपरस्टिशन भी है, इंडिया में देर आर लॉट ऑफ इन्वॉल्वमेंट, देर इज थ्राइविंग डेमोक्रेसी इन दैट सेंस। तो इसीलिए पब्लिक पॉलिसी कैसे रोल प्ले करेगी वो प्राइवेट बिजनेस के कॉम्प्लीमेंट के साथ होना चाहिए। लोकल बैंक्स को हम भी अलाउ कर रहे हैं, वी आर ऑल्सो हैविंग लॉट ऑफ स्कीम्स, वी ऑल्सो वांट टू इंक्रीज हाउस होल्ड स्पेंडिंग, कंज्यूमरिज्म, वी ऑल्सो वांट टू इंक्रीज इवन डिपॉजिट इन द बैंक। एनपीएस के अंदर आरबीआई लगाम लगा रहा है, कोऑपरेटिव मिनिस्ट्री आगे बढ़ रही है, फिशिंग के अंदर है कोऑपरेटिव, एग्रीकल्चर में है कोऑपरेटिव, शुगर केन में है कोऑपरेटिव, और इवन महाराष्ट्र, आंध्र प्रदेश, पंजाब and even other parts of India, they are having thriving cooperative sector and cooperative contribution. So India is a different way, but China is definitely far and miles ahead. India will have not only to just catch up, but also to be smart enough to thrive and to strive and to be on the top. Mansi, you want to add something?
तो न्यूली फोकस जो हम कर रहे हैं दैट इज ऑन अगेन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग या इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क्स ऑफ डिफरेंट वेराइटीज या इन डाइवर्स सेक्टर्स। फॉर एग्जांपल बल्क ड्रग पार्क्स हो गया, या फिर उसमें हम जो प्लग एंड प्ले मॉडल की बात करते हैं डेडिकेटिवली, उस पर भी फोकस किया जा रहा है। दैट वुड बी अगेन लोकेटेड अलोंग दी डेडिकेटेड फ्रीट कॉरिडोर्स है या जो इंडस्ट्रियल कॉरिडोर्स है। So we are focusing overall upon our manufacturing sector and the capacity of the potential that exists in the industrial sector. So this is again जो करंट बजट में भी अगेन बोला गया है कि 12 न्यू इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क्स और बनाए जाएंगे इंडिया में।
We can move further, please.
जी सर।
अब बात करते हैं वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड की, कैसे ब्रिटेन में जो एक फिस्कल क्राइसिस या हाई इन्फ्लेशन है, तो क्या वो वाकई उनका ब्लैक होल है? क्या एक कॉलोनियल पावर जिसने पूरे वर्ल्ड पर रूल किया, it will be able to sustain on its own. So Mansi, you have to give the overview in this regard.
So यहाँ ब्रिटेन की इकोनॉमी की बात हो रही है, तो इट इज डेफिनेटली सिग्नलिंग टूवर्ड्स द फिस्कल मिसमैनेजमेंट इफ वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द फिस्कल ब्लैक होल देयर. So there we were seeing कि populist measures लिए जा रहे हैं even when it comes to the election या use of more freebies. So that is one thing, and again the saturation level in terms of the GDP growth rate for Britain, that is becoming a challenge. Challenge to increase their trade is one aspect, because after Brexit, that is also one of the important focus point for the Britain's economy. So borrowing off again the amount and the debt, rising debt, because that will also bring additional pressure of the interest repayments that will be done. So all this is adding up to more pressure, more unemployment, high inflation rate. So the numbers are indicating that whether it is recession or not in Britain specifically.
What else?
So I think
कहना चाहेंगे इंडिया के लिए क्या लेसन हो सकता है?
इंडिया के लिए लेसन सर यही हो सकता है कि रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर रैशनलाइजेशन के ऊपर हम ऑलरेडी फोकस कर रहे हैं. वो हमने इस बार ये शिफ्ट इस बजट में भी देखने को मिला था 2024 बजट में. सो सब्सिडीज हमने रिड्यूस कर दी है. फॉर एग्जांपल अगेन फूड सब्सिडीज की अगर हम बात करते हैं, वी आर फोकसिंग अपॉन क्वालिटेटिव ग्रोथ, नॉट जस्ट इन टर्म्स ऑफ ग्रोथ की नंबर्स में अगर वो इंक्रीज हो रही है. सो चाहे वो रिडक्शन ऑफ पॉवर्टी हो, जैसे नीति आयोग ने बोला है कि 135 million people have come out of poverty between 2016 and 2021. So we are seeing improvements on the ground level also. We are focusing upon the employment creation. There we are also talking about self-employment पे कैसे हम और ज़्यादा focus कर सकते हैं. Training of the workforce, that is also one of the advantages of
Britain
India.
being a parliamentary democracy और
जी.
इंडिया एक also parliamentary democracy है, तो और किस तरीके से हो सकता था बताइए?
So in terms of parliamentary democracy, there is again certain differences there also, because India is having a written constitution, or we are focusing upon, then might be we can say on more planning aspect, policy formulation, revisiting the policies and the monitoring. So that can be one of the aspects. And India is a developing economy. So we are well capitalized also. We are better in terms of absorbing the risk which are arising, be it globally, externally, or even internally. So the role of regulator, for example, RBI, we are seeing ki if RBI is perceiving that there is certain kind of risk increasing in terms of the uncollateralized loans, so we are beforehand taking the regulatory measures so that it does not becomes a bigger problem in future, or the NPAs are not turning out to be big in future.
Okay. I think good enough.
जी sir.
We can go to the next.
हाँ जी.
Myanmar's rapidly changing civil war. So Mansi, can you throw light on why there is a crisis in Myanmar for such a long time? क्या characteristics हैं, कारण है म्यांमार?
So we are seeing after the military coup and takeover by the junta rule in Myanmar in 2021 around February. So efforts are being taken up, but again we are seeing a very less role of international organizations, or when we're talking about the role of even UN or other countries, for example US. So this is one aspect, and sir, rule by military use of
Can
again.
we take a different stakeholder? You are saying about one you are saying about one stakeholder, that is the Myanmari Janta, the army. Other is ethnic militia, and then there are pro-democracy groups.
These
Stakeholders are there, ethnic militias are there, pro-democracy groups are there, and Myanmar obviously military is there. So the resistance forces, yani ki those who are fighting against the military, they are having a series of victory with time. The defeat of the Janta, which is, as you just said, in February 2021, it is looking very weak, but it is not going to be very easy. That is why the winning element for the ethnic militias and also resistance forces is far, but it is happening. And one day, military can be defeated. So
These-
October 22, 2023, the Brotherhood Alliance that I just said, ethnic militia, राखाइन स्टेट की हमने बात की है जहाँ के रोहिंग्यास भी हैं, ये तीनों नाम आपको पता होने चाहिए, राखाइन, कोकांग एंड तांग पीपल, जो कि चाइना सिक्योरिटी सर्विसेज से भी लिंक्ड हैं, उन्होंने जो है ऑफेंसिव लॉन्च कर दिया और उन्होंने मांडले, चिन, राखाइन, शान ये जनता ग्रुप से ले लिया. Even if you can just enlarge this map, so we can definitely see more clearly that what kind of development and feasibility is there. See, you can see. If you see, first of all, the legends, can you show me the legends first? Which color is showing what? The legend shows, for example, the Chin resistance, Khiai resistance, all different kind of resistance they are showing. And then you can see that they are controlled by different groups in different regions and zones. It is very important for India also. But then Naipeidiu, the capital, it is not surrounding it, it is the northern one, and then definitely in the southern one, and eastern and the western. But the central part and even the central zone, it is under the military's control. So Brotherhood success, it is inspiring. That is why everybody else is redoing their effort. So 14% Myanmar's territory, 33% its population. This is under Janta control. Mostly cities, as I just said. That is why the Arakan army, the rebel force, जिसके अंदर Buddhist majority है, जबकि we say Buddhism is believe all belief in peace and harmony, but still they are doing so. That is also the right thing to do. So there are at least 50% of the townships and states which are bordering, some part of bordering the land bordering Bangladesh. It had been under the control of the resistance forces. Human right groups हैं, war crimes की बात होती है, and then what we can say is that this is going on and going on. This cannot happen without the support of the outside forces, as we are just saying. So China is definitely a very important player. India, like always, India is a very strategic and a very important player. But India is never going to, never going to intervene in a sinful or in a myopic way. But then think about what China may be doing. So resistance, much of the border regions, foothills of Himalayas, and legal trade in and out of Myanmar, it is also being hampered. Fighting in the border area, इससे क्या हो गया? Smuggling of drugs, gems and timber. It is happening in a very great way. So the question arises that it is in this regard, India or even the United Nations, because Myanmar became one of the largest producers of opium also. What impact and what sufferings India is actually having because of all this development? Because it is not that nothing is happening. State may look other way, but then things are happening, and that too also in a very very wrong way. So it is in this regard. You please tell that how and what India must do.
So in this context, we have seen recently also that because of the rising border threat across the Myanmar, and specifically major impacts being on the state of Manipur, so government has decided to withdraw the free movement regime, which we used to have with Myanmar, and it allowed the free movement across the border of the tribals or the ethnic people who used to reside in that particular region. And
Okay.
secondly, sir, we have decided to fence the borders with Myanmar because the states that share border with Myanmar includes Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur,
That Myanmar is a big producer of methamphetamines and ketamine. It is a center for carrying out global cyber crimes, but the world is not paying any attention. Obviously, it is India's backyard. China, US, they are playing their own games, and Southeast Asia, especially the common person in that country, that is in Myanmar, and rest of the world, they are suffering. What India must do in a strategic way?
So here we can also talk about the role of FATF also, Financial Action Task Force, because again, the black money and the money being used
More
for
than sanctions, more than sanctions, it is always persuasion, logic, right amount of efforts, they matter. Otherwise, nothing is going to be safe. As Gandhiji always said, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. So it is about the sensitivity, it is about the care, it is about the global challenges which we must bring into picture, and then only we can do so. Divya, you want to say something over here?
No, sir.
Can we move to the last topic?
Ji, sir.
What is responsible cyber power? So, Mansi, do you really think that cyber power is tangible and capable enough to intervene into states, into sovereign powers?
So given the current situation and the regulation, the laws that we have right now, this is again a big challenge. And as you pointed out, that whether it can intervene in the sovereignty or the state's power or not, so that is happening. And responsible cyber power, sir, would how we can move towards creating a responsible cyber power would be the laws need to be again more specific when we're talking about the software capabilities. How responsive are they when we are detecting a certain kind of again an antivirus or any type of cyber fraud which is happening or cyber attack which is happening. Role of certain is important. Computer Emergency Response Team of India, and so
So
role of
there
also
must be there
antivirus
must be certain
firewall.
principles. There must be certain principles. Like here, they are saying that Britain's principle for cyber warfare. So rather than Britain, I should say UN must come up with those ideas. UN cannot act always impartially because United Nations Security Council reforms are pending. So it all things become lopsided, like the way in case of group of students, when someone is putting most effort, someone is putting least effort, but then everyone has to carry on along. The whole thing becomes twisted. So cyber attack on satellites. That is how it is happening. German windmills, and then you have the question of European electricity supply, and then destroying data, and then attack on civilian power, water infrastructure. So it is the most intensive cyber campaign ever which the world had witnessed. But what is responsible cyber? So the Britain's National Cyber Force, which will be taken up by the European Union also later on, it is becoming a kind of a purposeful debate, and principles are there. What is offensive? This is offensive cyber power. Offensive cyber power, disruption of computer networks. It is not cyber espionage. Cyber espionage is happening with India also, and India's enemies, they also try to disrupt. For example, hacking of the AIMS infrastructure as far as data is concerned, and then we find certain kind of other attacks also on the ministry's websites and data. So Britain is actually talking about it first. Transparency it is showing, because cyber operations are always behind the walls. Computer networks, modern economies and society, they all depend upon cyber, cyber welfare, I should say. Rather than warfare, it should be welfare, like our Prime Minister says. So Russian cyber attack in 2017, it went on to have more than $10 billion damage. Political leaders, they must take it more seriously. So that is why it realistic and a very important circumscribed view of cyber power must be taken up. The main purpose is not so much kinetic. That means tangible. It is actually virtual, a digital substitute for airstrikes. It is cognitive. That is why very keyword is here. You can just come back over there again. Another very important keyword here is that how cyber enabled disinformation. Cyber enabled disinformation. That means it is being propagated at the mass level through different kind of groups and channels and media, but it is disinformation. It can cripple the whole population. It can make people paranoid. Cyber attack might, for example, tinker with their communications. So the British example suggests there must be criteria. Cyber power is being used responsibly or not, like the atomic power. And North Korean hackers, they went on to attack an American film studio, and they went on to release the movie about King Jong-un. Iran has attacked also American banks. Russia has used cyber tactics. In case of India, also it is believed that in elections that has been done through Meta. So the attacks are calibrated, they are precise, they know it is dangerous, they are malicious. So tell-in manual, this is very important. Tell-in manual, which we must use also in our learning somewhere. It is essentially NATO is one such guide. Russian intelligence services, or even for that matter Mossad, or that matter CIA, ISI, or even India's RAW, or even other group, they must also pay attention. And cyber forces must be able to protect their own arsenals. They must use high hacking tools in a positive way. For example, we read about India that a sophisticated spyware is being planted in the politicians, leaders, bureaucrats, professionals, and corporates' iPhones, and it is taking away all the information. It is something like that, and the information is coming from from the iPhone only, from the company, from the Apple, and we are talking that we have taken it from from Israel. So the North Korean cyber attack, ransomware, and other kind of things. So India is fighting at a different level. Digital literacy is required, accountability is required, awareness is required. In spite of regular awareness by the government and by RBI, still people fall prey to such things. Oversight must be there. Role of the role of IITs and CRTs, and also role of NASCOM and our national cyber mission, role of Niti Aayog in that context, and every state and the police force and the intelligence and the government departments must also be ready. For example, here it is ending by talking about Edward Snowden, who went shockwaves through NASA and GSHQ. It was also a kind of a hacking. So the public revealing of the industrial scale intelligence is very, very dangerous, but then it also showcases that the countries like US, or even for that matter Europe, they are not bothered about the whole world. They believe that the planet is sustainable beyond any level. They are not mindfully using their power, their development, their growth and resources. They are unmindfully fighting on smaller issues which they believe now important. For example, sending illegal migrants to Rwanda, or not letting down the level of living, or not letting down the cost of consumerism like in the US. If that happens, there is no way nature, climate change, and other aggressions. Cyber welfare is need of the day. It is very, very important, like the climate change issue. So, Ashik, would you end up by saying some point?
So I will highlight only two aspects of cyberspace, responsible cyberspace. It is based on accountability of the transnational companies like Google, Meta, and Facebook, as well as the national sovereignty of the country. For example, what we have seen between the Indian government versus Twitter regarding the sovereignty issue on this cyberspace. At the same time, we were discussing regarding various conventions such as Bellesley Convention regarding the AI, or EU AI Act, that is talking about responsible using of cyberspace, responsible use of AI. So we have to be responsible at a very society level, as well as from the transnational company, as well as from the national government level. तभी जाकर के cyberspace can be very safe space.
क्या आपको कुछ कहना है?
सर, इंडिया प्रमोट करता है एथिकल यूज ऑफ एआई, तो उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में देख सकते हैं जैसे ईयू ने एक्ट बनाया, उस तरह से भारत में इसके लिए एक्ट लाया जाए उसके ऊपर।
आया जाएगा भारत में भी। पहले भारत में जरा टेलीकॉम और बाकी प्राइवेसी ये सब चीजों से होके ही आप वहां तक पहुंचोगे, थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट रहेगा तब तक के लिए, यही वाली बात है।
एंड सर,
तो
केरला का साइबर डोम मॉडल भी हम बात कर सकते हैं कि क्या वो नेशनल लेवल पे स्केल पे आ सकता है, नहीं आ सकता है, उसकी क्या एफिशिएंसी, इफेक्टिवनेस है।
सही बात है. So thank you very much for all such sincere and such inspiring values, words, and ideas. I hope that helps you to not crumble down in the actual examination situation. And in the same way, if you're going to write, okay, but the goal is to bring the best, and I'm sure your confidence, which is much more than artificial intelligence, is going to help us strive and to get success. Wishing all the best. Let's do it and create number one in terms of happiness, in terms of giving back to society, in terms of making a difference to your life, and in terms of being a role model for those people, those children, those group of society who believe that you can make a difference. Thank you very much.